I'm so old, gamers. Anyways, so apparently after I made the last video, I got, well, it was a decent response to it, so I was like, that's nice. Um, Generally though, some people mentioned that they weren't quite like getting fully what I had to say, or that they didn't get the message. So I was like, oh, damn. And then he was like, hey, I hope we get more of these. I'm like, well, okay. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do my own replay this week. It's probably not a good idea since someone will like try to see what I do based on my commentary here, but I guess I'm just gonna have to use my gamer skills to be better at the tier and Sablet, because Sablet's my opponent next week. I don't know how much Sablet's willing to scout the fucking YouTube algorithm to see what my plans are, but we all die in the end anyways. So yeah, I'm gonna analyze my own game here, because I also thought this was a good showcase of why you like need to pick the safe move sometimes, and like why like how it still is better at the end of the day. Because spoiler warning, I won this. I'm going into winners finals. But I am the let's go. So let's play this, and I'll try to like give my play-by-play analysis so that I can like show why clicking the safe move is so important, and why it's important to use good teams. Because you might look at this and say, "Hey, they're both using good teams," and I'd say, "No," but I'll get to that in a second. So, all right, now, like last time, I was like, well, there's Mega Beedrill there, so you get two options. You either predict they're leading Mega B, and you go Melmetal. I guess I could go Arrow in this case, but I don't really want to. I don't know. I feel like that's just going to get a bit messy if I lead Arrow here, because if I lead Arrow, they go B. I basically enforce a Rock Slide. They go into Melmetal, and then they have like a free Melmetal. And so my era, no Rock. Fuck that. We're not doing that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm either gonna lead Melmetal or I'm gonna lead Mew here. And I'm like, well, if I just post a video where I'm like, if there's a Mega B, you should usually be leading Melmetal, and if I lead Mew, I'm gonna look like a fucking idiot. So I'm like, okay, I'll lead Melmetal, and they'll probably lead B, but oh well. And that's exactly what happens. Except not, because they saw my video, I presume, and they're like, oh, well, we'll send in Mew because they're going to send in Melmetal first. And now they are playing into the hive mind of leading Mew and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and clicking Stealth Rocks turn 1. So they're playing a pretty good game here. And now I have to switch because I can't take shit because it's hard enough for Melmetal to stay healthy against Beedrill. So, they have all the turns in the world they can do. Obviously, you just click Stealth Rocks here and you start getting your pressure up. Except that's not what they do. They click Scald. Now, first thing, you always click Stealth Rocks here because you need to guarantee that you're getting the pressure up against Arrow and Zapdos in case you ever get in a scenario in which that's an issue. So that's a mistake for my opponent's part. If they had Stealth Rocks here, they'd be much better. Secondly, Scald is not going to do enough to Mew. You're not going to pressure this thing long-term with Scald. So if you're going to snipe Mew, you should be running a better set, quite frankly. You should be running Flamethrower Toxic. Flamethrower Toxic's a good set. If you have Scald on this, generally I'm thinking you might still have U-Turn, but probably not. You need Rocks and you need Roost, so, I mean, U-Turn's a fine move to have here, but then you're just going to get walled by something like Vaporeon. It's going to click Shadow Ball against you for free. There's just so many, like, you need U-Turn really here, and then you're just not having great coverage. Clicking the Scald doesn't do anything. I am never staying in his Melmetal there, because even if you hit me with Psychic, that's just going to make Beedrill so much more likely. And yeah, I have Aerodactyl to handle Beedrill, but I don't like having Aerodactyl be my only Beedrill answer, because Aerodactyl usually wants to take some other hit. Maybe they need to do it to break through Mew. Scald is a bit of a fake move on Mew because it just doesn't offer as much pressure as you'd like it to. It doesn't do things like Vaporeon against Mew is becoming a more common matchup. It's going to get walled easily by Skarmory. Or sorry, it's not Skarmory, Starmie. If I have a Mega Blastoise, then your Mew is basically useless at that point because you're never going to exert enough pressure unless you get lucky burns off. And if you're looking for burns, just use Toxic. Like, maybe you're trying to get a Dugtrio, but Psychic Mew already handles Dugtrio pretty well. Scald feels like an awkward middle ground, whereas it's better to just commit to the Toxic Flamethrower or go to Psychic U-turn. I don't like this set. It seems very... So they don't get the burn, so already they did 15, what is it? Yeah, 15 damage to Mew. Stealth Rocks would already be doing more than that if you just click Stealth Rocks in the beginning of the game. You can get a U-turn off, and then you can really start pressuring with Mega B. But in clicking Scald, they go for the hedge, and it doesn't work. And then we elect to just do our whole Stealth Rock dance. So I'm technically not winning in this position. You know, I'm losing. I took damage whereas they didn't. But I also know that I have better ways to pressure them long term. And yeah, it's not... if they got burn, maybe they'd be able to get something going, but it's just not enough when you don't get the burn. And at that point, even Will-O-Wisp, I'd say, is better than Scald, because you're just not doing anything with Scald at the end of the day. Too much, like, doesn't care about it. Like, even Zapdos doesn't care about it. And Zapdos kind of likes getting burned to an extent. It's not obviously better than no status, but it means you can't pressure it with Toxic later. Some Pokemon really like using Toxic to break it down. I don't like Scald here. Anyways, moving on. No guesses as to what I'm going to click here, but I'm surprised to see I go first. I'm like, huh, people are speed creeping. It's like, it's about time, but then I'm like, well, now what do I do? You know, if they use U-turn, they're going to get a free switch in on me. I basically need to send out the most neutral zone Pokemon I have, because otherwise they're just going to die. Or sorry, they're going to have the matchup anyways. I'm like, well, pretty good if I go into Vaporeon. Vaporeon has a pretty solid matchup against everything, not just in this tier, but in general. And then they surprise me by clicking Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail is also not a good set. Mew does not last around long enough, you know. If you ever click Dragon Tail and your opponent has Mega Beedrill, you just, like, gave yourself an insanely high chance to just lose the game off that alone. That's one reason I don't like Dragon Tail. The second is that it can miss. Toxic can miss, but Toxic, at least you have, like, the position. Dragon Tail is, like, it's not unproven. It has worked in the past, but generally it feels like people are starting to like it less. I think people are getting a bit too lost in the sauce of, like, oh, Rock's chip builds up over time. And, like, yeah, it surprises me here, you know, and if you keep clicking Dragon Tail, you know, you'll get Mew, you'll bring Mew in eventually, but if I ever have Vaporeon in against this Mew, I get a free Shadow Ball, and then I'm just going to take it out immediately the turn after. So, the problem with Dragon Tail is in a tier as fast as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, that one turn where you get the wrong switch is usually just game over. Or it's not game over, but it makes your move useless. So you're just playing a bunch of chances as to where you're not going to hit that Pokemon. And it's nowhere near as consistent as just having a slower U-turn and being able to just pick your matchup. That's the main issue I have with Dragon Tail, is that U-turn it provides so much more utility. And the thing I like about the least of Dragon Tail is that it can miss, and missing in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is disastrous because it's such a fast-paced tier. Anyways, it works out for them in this scenario because they aren't having to face my Vaporeon. Only thing I can really do here is go Mew. So I do that. They click Scald again, and they don't get the burn. So as again, we're seeing Scald's not going to do much, and I'm spoiling this turn, but yeah. You don't really have a good long-term plan for this Mew. Except this, Taunt, which I was surprised to see. I don't know why they didn't go for Taunt in the first place. Maybe they don't know that I never run plus speed Mew because I think it's an int, or maybe they just wanted their Stealth Rocks earlier. Taunt is a fake move in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and I'm going to showcase why in a few seconds. So, they deny my healing. Sick. Now what? Well, you gotta click, like, Scald or Stealth Rocks. You know, if I click U-turn here, and I don't get burned, which they finally do get the burn, then I just get to choose the matchup. Especially if I wasn't burned, I do enough damage to where I just threaten with Aerodactyl Crunch. Very hard to switch into that. You'd be down a Pokemon, whereas I'm not, and I have a free sack, and the rest of my team's relatively healthy. Vaporeon's still probably going to be able to surf off on Melmetal, and that's all you really need it to do. generally the problem with Taunt Mew is you need to be faster to deny Stealth Rocks because that's the main thing you're shooting for. And when that happens, the Mew is just going to U-turn out and you've effectively accomplished nothing anyways, and you don't do enough damage to Mew. And you're playing too many mind games, whereas it's much better to just have a slower U-turn. Pick the matchup like this right here. Go into Vaporeon. I can click Shadow Ball or Yawn for free here. I'm going to click Shadow Ball probably if I'm right. Yes. Here comes the Alolan Executor. I click Shadow Ball. And it's pretty sad when a grass type doesn't beat a water type in any world. I don't really know what they were going for here. I think the Shadow Ball is pretty obvious from my point of view. I guess you don't want to go Zapdos. Because if you go Zapdos, then you just take too much chip, and then you can't really recover that off easily by the time I get the Dugtrio. It's just messy. But you can't stay in because you don't have recovery. If you have recovery here, maybe that's an option. Maybe you recover. See if you can ever get them to click Yawn. Otherwise, recover off. Sure, Vaporeon has a chance to break through that all eventually anyways, but this is why you should be running recovery on Mew. Is when something like this comes your way, or God forbid, a Jolteon, which is way worse, because the only answer to Jolteon just randomly clicking Shadow Ball on your team. I guess Executor is that, but it's still not great at it because it can only take one Shadow Ball. Run a Mew set. This is not a Mew set. Run... like, the Scald is, Scald's a bit of an int. I don't like Scald personally. I think you're just fishing. Vaporeon's gonna harass you all day because that Dragon Tail should be, it should be like U-turn. Just because it allows you to pick the matchups instead of Dragon Tail picking the matchups for you. And Taunt is just not a move. I'm sorry, it's just not. Every single time, Mew is just gonna U-turn on your Mew, and then it's going to come back in, and you're going to have to taunt it again, and then you're going to click U-turn again, and then whatever's your Mega is just going to threaten the Mew out. It's just not a good move. I wish I could do a better job of showcasing it here, but, yeah, this set that can't beat Vaporeon, I know when you're clicking Dragon Tail, so whenever I click U-turn on my Mew, I know when it's good to send in the Pokemon that has the winning matchup against you. And even Zapdos does pretty well against this, but I'm trying to save Zapdos because, no ground type, and when you don't have a ground type, Zapdos is super threatening and becomes a win con. This is really close to being a good team, but even if you're discounting the fact that Alolan Executor isn't a real Pokemon, I probably won't explain now, but I might explain in a future video, depending on how the rest of the tournament goes. I don't know why they make this play, but, I mean, hey, it wasn't doing much anyways. It's going to get outsped by anything in the tier. It can't come in on Dugtrio anymore. It just doesn't do it. And yeah, you could say, well, if this was a Dugtrio, it wouldn't have been taking the Shadow Ball into whatever move Vaporeon uses either. But A, you would have gotten progress off on the Vaporeon. And Earthquake here is a big deal. That Pokemon I'm switching into Melmetals now can't do it. And it's beating my Zapdos. It's basically, Dugtrio is just a free +1 against my team because I have Zapdos. But conversely, if this was a real Mew set, all it had to do was just click Psychic, and then it could have just done it wouldn't have beaten me 1v1, but it would have been in a much better position, and it wouldn't have given up a Pokemon. As you can see, Alolan Executor does nothing in this matchup once it's already taken a hit. And because they don't have a Mew that can stay in on Vaporeon for even a little bit of time, something has to take the hit. It can't be something that's taking rocks. And it can't be something that's deterring my Aerodactyl from destroying the rest of their team. So maybe you can go Vaporeon, but then you're just in an even matchup there. And Alolan Executor wasn't doing much anyways. So Alolan Executor is a fake Pokemon in this matchup. Might make a video on it later as to why it's even worse. Run a real Mew set, it would have prevented this. It might have actually let Alolan Executor do something in the future. But that's the way it goes. Alolan Executor is dead. Send in Zapdos. I make the incredibly safe move of going into Dugtrio Alola. They click U-turn. This is beneficial for them, but it's not as good as like, oh, well, I just got my Pokemon in for free because your Zapdos has taken 50% from that. And it means like my Zapdos can become more threatening. It's a lot scarier to switch into Vaporeon. You can't do this forever against Dugtrio. Eventually you're going to have to do something else. So I'm pretty okay with that turn. So now I'm looking here, and I'm like, well, if I get rid of Vaporeon, then all I need to do is damage the Melmetal, and I win. Plus, they've also been making crazy moves, but at the end of the day, I choose to make the safe move. And what happens? They click Surf, mine goes down, I send in Zapdos, and I get to click Thunderbolt for free. Look at how threatening Zapdos is. This is a Drill Peck Zapdos, by the way, so Executor would have gotten smoked by it anyways. Look at what happens to your team when you don't run a ground type. So I get to click the freest Thunderbolt in my life. Nothing wants to switch in. Vaporeon gets hit by it. They Ice Beam me. They critical hit. That's not great. You know, Zapdos is super threatening, but at the end of the day, I think I can win anyways. All I need to do is get some chip on this Melmetal. Aerodactyl's gonna clean up for free. I'm threatening this team very much. It's annoying, but at the end of the day, and you know, I dodged 2 Scald Burns, which might have mattered a little earlier, you know, getting the U-turn chip and all that. Even though Vaporeon was going to win anyways. But Dugtrio Alola is really the only thing that makes sense here. If I go Aerodactyl, I'm going to have to switch out anyways. Whereas they can't really send in anything against my Dugtrio, just because it's a bit too scary. You know, they can't send it. They can send in like something like Beedrill. It's just messy. And again, this is something that Rhydon can't do. Alolan Dugtrio is the go. I get to click Earthquake for free here. Bye-bye, Vaporeon. And now they basically have to switch in Beedrill. They switch in Melmetal, then I get to click Earthquake, and then Aerodactyl sweeps the rest of their team because they've taken too much chip everywhere else. And in comes B, and I decide to make the slightly riskier, but not really risky at all, play of going into Aerodactyl on B. And they kind of have to click Drill Run there. Otherwise, they risk looking like an idiot if I, like, just YOLO Earthquake. It's not even that bad of a play to stay in an Earthquake, but I think it's most important for chipping the Melmetal. So they click Drill Run. I get Arrow in for free. I click Earthquake for free. Nothing wants to take that. I suppose what they could have done is they could have gone to Zapdos on a potential Earthquake, and then they would have gone Melmetal on either a Rock Slide or Crunch, but I think that's playing a bit too safe. I'm clicking Earthquake here. There's no world in which I don't click Earthquake here. I'm not clicking Rock Slide. You know, I killed the Beedrill, I did the calc. Mew's just gonna die anyways. I think Mewsac is actually better here than just letting this take this. Like so. Literally one more move on this Melmetal and I just win the game. So Aerodactyl's out of there because it's my win con. In comes the scary Melmetal, and I get to click a free move. Surf's pretty good here. Shadow Ball is also good because I don't need any more chip than I already have. Even Yawn's not too bad, but Mew comes in. I'm like, well, I'm going to click Surf. It doesn't kill, but I could just Yawn anyways. But they elect to click Scald. You know, you don't have recovery, so what else are you going to do, really? Aerodactyl comes in, I get to click another free move, Crunch, and even this little chip from the Stealth Rocks is just so detrimental to Melmetal. So all I have to do is send in my Melmetal, and all I need is literally anything on this. They make the right move and go Earthquake. There's no way I was switching in there. I click Ice Punch in case they like go to Zapdos and they just like stall me out the rest of the game. I don't need to click anything else. Assuming I hit one Rock Slide, which I kind of have to do anyways, they win. I get Freeze, classic Ice Punch Freeze, but it doesn't matter anyways. They Earthquake me, they thaw out. I don't think it really would have mattered there. It might have actually, I was always going to sack Melmetal here. I double Iron Bash them. I eventually get the kill. And so they go into Zapdos. It would have been better if I just let this die, but I have a Dugtrio that's pretty healthy. They can, you know, they can click Reflect, but it's not going to do much. They can do all this and that, but this is why Toxic Dugtrio is good, so you don't lose to Reflect Zapdos, because it can happen otherwise to bad predictions. They got the Mega B. I'm just going to stay in. They're going to U-turn, yada, yada, yada. I don't feel like risking a Rock Slide, so I just click Earthquake. No reason to risk Rock Slide there. And I just click Rock Slide here. It's too much for this Zapdos to bring, and yeah, you know how this goes. Mega Aerodactyl sweeps the rest of the team. What's the moral of the story? Moral of the story is run a real Mew set. Don't go groundless. And click the right moves. Because as you can see in this game, I rarely make a full-on prediction. And certainly nothing that would have lost me the game. Click safe moves, guys. Click Stealth Lead Mew. Click Stealth Rocks, unless there's a B. This is actually fine to do here because I'm a bit too scared to be. Don't run a Mew set without recovery. It's not going to work. Don't run Taunt Mew. Taunt Mew is just asking to get U-turn, and then I bring in my Mew again, and you don't actually make any progress. And you need to click Stealth Rocks anyways. And Alolan Executor is a bad Pokemon. Anyways, let's go on to game 2. So we got this joint right here. Whoopsie, wrong button there. I'm running double electrics because I thought it'd be fun. I like double electrics a lot, and it's a decent matchup. I like Mega Blastoise against Aerodactyl. But you know, they do have the Aerodactyl against my 2 electric types who will get outsped and die by it. I never like seeing Clefable because I swear on everything, even though it's a winning matchup for Mew, Clefable always beats Mew. I don't know how Clefable does it, but every time they'll trade the rocks, then Clefable will Thunder Wave, and then they'll either just get maximum crit hacks or maximum para hacks. It happens every time. I have never seen a Mew beat Clefable. So that's why I'm scared of seeing Clefable. It's not because I'm scared of Clefable itself. And, you know, there is actually a world where you just use Zapdos against Clefable, and that's actually, like, a fine play. But I don't do that, because, you know why? Because I am a sheep, and I lead Mew, and they lead Clefable, and I click Stealth Rocks turn 1, because I don't see a Beedrill. Anyways, Clefable does its Clefable thing. I'm clicking Psychic here. If they... I want to briefly mention, I don't like using Clefable, because it's not one of, like, the 8 Pokemon I think is viable. But always click Thunder Wave turn 1. Because if you click Stealth Rocks turn 1, I just go into Zapdos, and then it's harder for you to wall, and you can't Para-Hacks your way through me, and I just click Thunderbolt. So always click Thunder Wave before you click Stealth Rocks. Anyways, they click Stealth Rocks here. I get my Psychic off. I'm pretty happy about that I haven't been Para-Hacked yet. So I get another Psychic off, and I get a crit. Yay. They Fire Blast me. I don't know why you would ever Fire Blast here. This is a very... I'm sorry, I gotta call it as is. This is a stupid play. I am never switching into Melmetal, and I am never switching into Dugtrio here. You're doing less damage to everything else than you are just with clicking Moonblast, and you can't miss, and you can drop me, and it's a very stupid play. They get unpunished, though, because Mew can never beat Clefable, I swear. I think I try Roosting here, just because I want to, but Mew can't beat Clefable. It's prophesized. And they click Moonblast again, and then I get paralyzed, so they get unpunished for their Fire Blast play. Unlucky, but that's how it goes. I don't feel like sending in Jolteon here, because it's just taking Rock's Chip for no real reason, because Aerodactyl's going to come in. So I make the incredibly gamer play here, and I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to send in Blastoise. I'm going to click the Mega Evolution button, and it's slower than me, and Aerodactyl doesn't want to come in. So I get added bulk the next time Melmetal or Aerodactyl comes in, and I need to switch Blastoise into it. Zapdos comes in here. Now, I am certain, given how U-turn happy they have been, that they're going to switch. But I'm a sheep, and I decide that I'm going to send in Alola and Dugtrio versus Zapdos, and they predict it right. And I will stand by that play until the day I die, even if this lost me the game. I am a sheep. I'm going Dugtrio every time I see Zapdos, and even if I get punished for it, like right here, they send in their Dugtrio Alola. This is never what you send in here. You always send in Aerodactyl here. Don't ever do this. If you ever take any damage on Dugtrio Alola whatsoever, my electrics become a lot more scary. But I'm not willing to take Speed Tie. I don't know if they are. I'm never taking that Speed Tie. I don't know why in any world where you have an Aerodactyl, you're just like, I'm gonna take the Speed Tie against my opponent, but I respect it. And now I get to show off, finally. It's so hard for me to do this, but I get to show off my epic Zapdos set. I dodged the Toxic, because my Zapdos nice with it, by the way. I get to click Reflect here, and I get to show off why Drill Peck Zapdos is so epic. Boom. That would have broken through Substitute. But I decided to only do the one piece of mental damage before I realized that Reflect is still really good for Blastoise to have. I don't know why they click Toxic here. I don't know if this is part of this new wave. Like, we aren't going to run Rock Slide Dugtrio. I've heard of those. I don't agree with those. I think you should always run Earthquake, Toxic, Substitute, Rock Slide. It always makes sure your Dugtrio is doing something in every match. You look really stupid if you don't have Rock Slide on your Dugtrio and you lose to Zapdos clicking, not even Reflect Drill Peck, just Drill Peck. Or you like lose, or you just like have no way to just pressure like random stuff. I don't know. Run Rock Slide on your Dugtrio. If you don't want to click it here, that's fine, you know. I definitely do sometimes just click Toxic on Zapdos anyways, because I know it's too annoying to break otherwise. But yeah. And now I make the wrong play here. This is the first time I make a objectively bad call. They go into Mew. First of all, I think I should have clicked Dark Pulse. I'm pretty sure it always kills here no matter what. But I clicked Surf. You know, it does good damage. And I don't know what possesses me to just stay in here for like 3 turns, being like, oh, I'm going to break through the Mew. And I just take Toxic. Don't do this. This is the worst play I've made this set. Don't do this, guys. Going Jolteon here, assuming it's just a bog standard set, is completely fine. Nothing wants to switch in Shadow Ball. I have enough health for some time later down the line for Blastoise to click Surf anyways. Don't do what I did here. I just basically threw away the game right in that play. Now I'm looking... Well, I can't send in Jolteon, because Jolteon's just going to get revenge killed by Dugtrio. And I need Jolteon to do something because I'm down 2 Pokemon here. So I'm going to send in my Dugtrio here. And they're probably going to send in their Aerodactyl after me. But I have to take this. I don't know. I think the crit is a roll. I didn't have many other moves to make here other than going... I had some, like, supreme reason as to why I didn't want to go Jolteon here. I think it was just, like, I take this, and then they send in Aerodactyl, and then they kill me. And I don't have a good switch for that anyways. And I'm not willing to risk Zapdos. I think it's fine to do this, anyways. Whatever comes in is going to have to get killed by Zapdos eventually anyways. And I'm like, well, maybe Jolteon can pick up the Zapdos kill later, whereas Dugtrio is not going to just reliably be anything, so I do this. And then they send in Dugtrio, and at this point, you know, I can try playing the Zapdos game again, but if they have Rock Slide, I lose, so I'm like, fuck it. Speed tie. And I win the speed tie because I'm the Let's Go. Epic. So now they finally send it. I don't know why they didn't do this sooner, but they send an Aerodactyl. I could definitely let Dugtrio die here. It's actually probably the right call, but I also need to find a way to beat the Melmetal later. So I make the incredibly stupid play here of going to Zapdos because I'm like, they're going to Earthquake. I should just let go of something else. But they click Earthquake. I'm like, maybe they won't predict. Maybe they'll predict me going to Melmetal. I think it's fine here to do either of stay in or click Thunderbolt. Don't click anything but Thunderbolt here. You always have to click Thunderbolt here. I get it wrong. It's completely fair. I think this is a fine play. I think going to Melmetal is actually a bit telegraphed there with a double. Obviously, if I do go Melmetal there, I'm in a much better position. But at the end of the day, I'm like, nah, not going to do it. So I go my Melmetal here. And I'm clicking Double Iron. You know, there's nothing else to click here. This thing's got to go. This Aerodactyl sweeps the rest of my team, but I unironically win easily if I get rid of this thing. So I'm clicking Double Iron Bash. Just kidding, I'm going Jolteon, because I actually realize that if I click Double Iron Bash here and they go Melmetal, there's no way for me to win the game. So let's do some high-level Let's Go Pikachu EV analysis here. This is what you came for. So I click Double Iron Bash. They go into Melmetal here. And they just get to click Earthquake for free. And I can't have Melmetal take that. Because if Melmetal takes that, then I can't take on Arrow later. If I go into Dugtrio, it just dies, and I lose my one way of doing damage to Melmetal before it dies. And if, you know, also they can't stay in here. They can't stay in here at all. If they lose Aerodactyl, they lose the game, because I just run through the rest of their team with the rest of what I have. So I am dead certain they are switching out. I'm dead certain they are switching out to Melmetal. They switch out. I don't know. I don't... Like, it's fine to switch into Zapdos here, but I think because Melmetal's is doing less against... both are not doing much. But I go into Jolteon. It's actually kind of better for them, because if they lose... I don't remember how long this turn took, or if they... Oh, I think I just... No, the Dimensions are fine. I don't know if this is, like, why they choose to go into Zapdos. We might need a... We await a statement on that, but... it's certainly better to lose Zapdos at this stage in the game, as opposed to Melmetal. But, you know, I'm pretty happy with this. I use Reflect, because it's the only way of guaranteeing that... This is the only turn I can guarantee that I get Reflect up. They click U-turn. I don't know the full set. I don't know why they're so happy to click U-turn on Zap. Maybe they really like U-turn. U-turn is a pretty fun move, so I get it. And they go into Melmetal. I think this is a supreme mistake. You go into... you'd have to run a calc to make sure. I think Jolteon lives, so yeah. You probably have to go Melmetal. I get to click off a free Thunderbolt here. Boom. They click Earthquake. It doesn't kill. I get another free Thunderbolt. Boom. Except it doesn't kill. And I really wanted that to kill, because then they have to choose who to send out. I was actually surprised it didn't kill. I wasn't doing the calc, though, because I didn't have any other play anyways. And now I have to play the game again. You know, if I had gotten the kill there, I probably would have won the game on the spot. Because if they send in Aerodactyl, I just send in my Melmetal and I click Ice Punch. And if they send in their Zapdos, I just send in my Dugtrio and I click Rock Slide and I win. But because of that roll, now something has to go down. They win the speed tie, which vexes me greatly. I click Ice Punch. They send in Zapdos, and now, they click Reflect, and I get the right call for once in my life. Because I don't see what else to do here. I legit don't know what else I can do in this scenario. Because I'm like, they're not, like, they aren't clicking Thunderbolt. I've gone Dugtrio every single time in this set, and they you know, it's probably better to click, like, I don't know. If I go Dugtrio and they don't do anything like Reflect or Roost, they lose the game. And I've gone Dugtrio every time, so I am sure as the sun will rise that they stay in here and they do something else. I don't think you click Reflect there. I think you always click Roost, but either way, I both understand and see why they did not click Thunderbolt there. Makes total sense from my point of view. But at the end of the day, I predict right, because it's a 50-50. This is just a raw 50-50 to win the game. It's actually less likely for me to win the game if I go Dugtrio here and they go and they click Reflect. You know, even though I get off for free, I don't do anything really at the end of the day. I think you have to click Roost here, but it's a very complicated situation. Clicking Thunderbolt is definitely very real here, and obviously they win the game if they do that. Clicking U-turn here is not good. It doesn't do anything for you because you just Ice Punch and then you lose. Clicking Reflect here works. You know, if I go Dugtrio, they live a hit, and then they can Roost off, and then eventually they can, like, get into Aerodactyl. But yeah. So I make the right call. They go Aerodactyl. They need a crit to win. They don't get it. I'm actually not sure if crit would have mattered. And I click Double Iron Bash. No easy moral of the story here. I guess the only thing that would, like, come close is, let me skip turns. Don't just throw your Blastoise away. It's a supreme misplay on my part. Never should have done that. Complete folly on my move. I want to talk about this game more anyways. Because I think it's a lot more emblematic of what I was trying to say last week, where click safer moves, use the right set, stop using bad teams. Even if you think Alolan Executor is a real Pokemon, which I don't, the fact that you're not using a real and, like, proven Mew set here really just makes it impossible for it to do anything, because it's just not going to get anything done against this team. And you've heard me say it before, this is the best team in the format, no questions asked. You know, it's like, it's an entertaining, fun Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee game that I played like shit, but I won anyways. And this is like I played the game basically. I had to make calls. Maybe I wouldn't have had to make those calls had I gotten a bit more lucky. You know, the Mew getting hacked by Clefable, the Jolteon hitting, like, being able to two-shot the Melmetal after rocks. You know, those two things would have won me the game, but at the end of the day, I didn't play perfectly, even though I think the only real mistake is the Blastoise, letting it just die to Toxic. It was perfectly safe to go to Jolteon. I was a bit too scared the entire game of just like, oh, this thing's gonna come in and ruin me later. But yeah. Again, this isn't meant to, like, throw shade on the opponent. This is a new tier. Well, it's not new. It's nowhere near, actually, but it's just, again, highlight, you know, it's an underdeveloped tier. Not many people know how to play it as well. Just click safe moves, use good Pokemon, don't try to innovate too much. Even though some would say that this team isn't trying to innovate at all, you know, these Pokemon have been proven 6, except Alolan Executor, because this thing hasn't proven anything in existence to me. But yeah, this game might have just been won by them straight up had they used a real Mew set. Because I'm literally losing. I'm down by turn 1. But they're hedging too much with Skull. They're placing their bets too much on too many things, and they're not giving themselves tools to reliably win the game with good prediction. And they're a good player, so anyone's a good player to make it to top 8. And having a custom Avi would you'll only reinforce that. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. It's probably went way longer than I meant it to be, but I guess that provides reasonable deterrence for anyone trying to scout this video to beat me in the upcoming tournament. So there you go. Bye.